Weird friend. I have a friend that has a very, very close best friend. I was okay with it since I'm not the social type. But those two had a questionable habit. I decided to visit their place once, and I got there, and he was okay. Not the tidiest person, but expected. As we were talking, suddenly his best friend comes a-knocking, and he opens the door, and the two do best friend stuff. And basically, I was abandoned. The two head into his bedroom. Bored, I decided to JS watch stuff on my phone. Then the door opened, but I didn't look up anyway. At least that's what I planned to do when I saw them out of the corner of my eye. I looked up and they were tied together, in a like three-legged race style. My friend's left ankle was tightly tied to his best friend's right, and there was zero space between them. They were tied in a similar fashion by the knees and the thighs. They were topless, and my friend was wearing boxers, while the other was wearing loose shorts that were clearly small for him. I blinked. They struggle to take steps, but they don't seem to mind. Then they look up and see me. "Oh, sorry, we forgot you were here. Don't worry about this." "Yeah, me and ________ do this all the time." "All the time? Why?" It was a long story, but in summary, those two were partners for a three-legged race at their school, and they enjoyed it so much they tied their legs together like that every time they hung out. Does it bring you any discomfort, pain, shit like that? Yeah, but we grow used to it. But how about walking and in public? We try to figure that out. I blinked again. The two stumbled and stepped their way to try and get to the kitchen. I blinked once more. How strange. You comfortable like that? Very. Dude, don't step like that. You're making us off balance. You're putting too much weight, yes? I decided I've seen enough and silently WBF'd. At home, I checked out his profile. My God, this guy was posting photos every day. And he had a YT channel, too, where he apparently posted daily vids of him and his friend doing three-legged challenges. It's been a week now, and he's still posting. At least he's getting views. Voices, no faces. My friend and I were skipping our third period, and we decided to go to this forest a couple blocks from my school. We were planning on staying there until our third period ended, so when it did, we were making our way out of the forest. We suddenly heard someone calling out my name, which is weird because we didn't see anyone in the forest. We were walking around and exploring the entire time. Not a single person in sight. We looked around us, and there was no one there. We brushed it off and continued walking. A few minutes later, we hear two voices calling out my name. My friend and I looked at each other, and we decided to get the hell out of there, and we ran for our lives. Once we were far away from the forest, I asked my friend if they heard it too, and they did. My friend asked me if I knew who was yelling my name and if I recognized their voices, but I didn't. I never even heard their voices before. Ever since then, we never went to that forest ever again. Isle of no return. Bash. Chakraborty didn't want a job but wanted money, so here she was, *Psi*, at Whole Foods Market, getting the new employee tour. And here's where the trucks come. And here's where the employees smoke. And here's the staff room. But please only heat up drinks in the microwave. Nodding along. "Not that you'll be here long," the manager conducting the tour said. "Everybody leaves. No one really wants to work here." Unsure if that was genuine resignation to a fact of the job market, or a test to assess her long-ish term plans, she said, "I'm happy to be here," and wondered how egregiously she was lying. The manager forced a smile, punctuated by a bored asterisk. He reminded her to arrive 15 minutes before her shift started and to clock in and out every workday. "It's a dead end. he said after introducing her to a few coworkers. Get out while you still can. That's my advice. We'll sign the paperwork this afternoon. She stood silently for a few seconds after the manager left, hoping one of the coworkers would say something. It was awkward. Eventually one said, So, do you go to school? Yeah. Me too. I go to school too. What are you studying? I'm still in high school, she said. Cool. Me too. You just look more mature. That's why I asked. More mature than a high schooler. Not physically, I mean. But like your aura. Thanks. His name was Tim. So how long have you been working here? She asked. 2 years. Well, almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in a month. Not exactly a month, just... I understand, said Bash. Sorry, said Tim. The other co-workers started snickering, and Tim dropped his head. Don't mind them, Bash said to Tim. They work at Whole Foods. She meant it as a joke, but Tim didn't laugh. She could almost hear the gears in his head grinding. But I work at Whole Foods, too. What was it her dad had told her this morning? Don't alienate people, and try not to make friends with the losers. Do you like music? Bash asked, attempting to normalize the conversation. Muzak was playing in the background. Yes, said Tim. I love music, said Bash. Do you play at all? I play piano. No, I don't. When you asked if I like music, I thought you were asking if I like listening to it. Which I do. Like listening. To music. That's cool. I like electronic music, said Tim. I like some too, said Bash. And Tim started listing the artists he liked one after another, none of whom Bash recognized. It's pretty niche stuff. Underground, said Tim. I'll check it out. You know, he lowered his voice, and for a moment his eyes shined. Sometimes when I'm working nights, I put the music on through the speakers. No one's ever noticed the difference. No one ever has. Do you know if you'll be working nights? Maybe we can work nights together. Bash heard a girl's voice from behind them say, Crash and burn. You *1 to work nights? The manager asked. Bash was in his office. Fridays and Saturdays, if I can. You can *, but nobody wants to work nights, except for Rita and Tim, and they're both a bit weird. That's my professional opinion. Please don't tell HR I said that. Anyhow, what you should know is the store has a few quirks, shall we say, which are rather specific to the night shift. That's cryptic, thought Bash. Quirks. You might call it an abnormal nighttime geography *, said the manager. Bash was reminded of that day in room 1204 of the Pelican Hotel when she reached out the window to play black and white parked cars as a piano. That, too, might have been called an abnormal geography. That had been utterly transcendent, and she'd been chasing something, anything like it since. I want the night shift, she said. She clocked in nervous. The Whole Foods seemed different at this hour, oddly hollow. Fewer people, elongated spaces with fluorescent lights that hummed. Hi, said Tim, materializing from behind a display of mixed nuts. I'm happy you came. Does she know? Said a voice, through the store's PA system. Know what? Asked Bash. About the phantoms, the PA system answered. There are no phantoms. Not in the traditional sense, said Tim. That's just Rita trying to scare you. Who's Rita? What's a phantom not in a traditional sense? Tell her. Tell her all about the Isle of No Return *, said Rita. Rita is my friend who works the night shifts with me. A phantom would be something strange that seems to exist but doesn't really. Traditionally. Non-traditionally, it would be something strange that seems to exist * and really does exist. * as for the Isle of No Return, that's something that most definitely exists. It's just over there. Aisle 7, he said, pointing. Bash had been down that aisle many times in the past week. There's something strange about it? At night, said Rita. At night, and if the mood is right, said Tim. Hey, said Rita, short, red-headed, startling Bash with her sudden appearance. Nice to meet you, said Bash. Do you know the pre-Whole Foods history of this place? Asked Rita. That's rhetorical. I mean, why would you? But Tim and I know. Before it was a Whole Foods, it was a Raider Joe's, and before that, a slaughterhouse. And the slaughterhouse had a secret. A sweatshop, you'd call it now, operating out of a few rooms, said Tim. Child labor, said Rita. No records, of course. So, there's no real way to know how many or what happened to them. But there were rumors of lots of disappearances. Kids came in, never went out. Dead? Asked Bash. Or worse. That's grim. But the disappearances didn't stop when the slaughterhouse and sweatshop closed. Employees from Raider Joe's gone. And, said Tim, a little under 2 years ago, when I was just starting, a worker at Whole Foods disappeared too. Came to work, and poof, made the papers. Her name was Veronica. Older lady. Real weirdo, said Rita. Was always nice to me, said Tim. You had a crush, said Rita. Bash looked at Tim, then at Rita, and then at aisle 7. And you think she disappeared down that aisle? We think they all disappeared down that aisle. Or whatever was there before canned goods and rice. Whatever it is, it's older than grocery stores. Said Bash, wondering whether to reveal her own experience. You're kidding me, right? Nope, said Rita. Wait and see for yourself, said Tim. He walked away into the manager's office, and about a minute later the muzak that had been playing throughout the store was replaced with electronica. He returned. Now follow me, he said. Bash did. The change in music had appreciably changed the store's atmosphere, but Bash didn't need anyone to convince her of the power of music. As they passed aisle 5, snacks, and 6, baking, Tim asked her to look in. Looks normal? Yeah, said Bash. So look now, he said, stopping in front of aisle 7, taking Bash's hand. She didn't protest. In his, and when she gazed down the aisle, it was as if she were on a conveyor belt, or the shelves were. Something, she sensed, was moving, but whether it was she or it, she couldn't tell. The aisle's depth rushing at and away from her at the same time, zooming in, pulling back, infinitely longer than it was. Horizontal vertigo, hypnotic, disorienting, unreal. She would have lost her balance if Tim hadn't kept her up. Whoa, said Bash. Right? As opposed to wrong? As opposed to left. Whose? Nobody. Nobody's left. Abnormal nighttime geography, said Bash, catching her breath. This is why nobody wants to work the night shift. Why management discourages it, said Rita. Legal liability over another lost employee would be expensive. Victoria's disappearance makes the next one reasonably foreseeable, said Tim. You'll notice 6 employees listed as working tonight. That's the bare minimum. But there are only 3 of us here. The other 3 are fictions, names Tim and I made up, that management accepts without checking, said Rita. Bash kept looking down the aisle and looking away, looking into, and so if I were to walk in there, I wouldn't be able to come out. That's what we think, of course. Rita looked at Tim, who nodded. Tim has actually been inside, and he's certainly still here. Only a few hundred steps, 152. Not far enough to lose sight of the entrance, said Tim. What was it like inside ? Asked Bash. It was kind of like the aisle just keeps going forever. No turn, straight. Shelves fully stocked with cans, rice, and bottled water on either side. Were you scared? Yeah, pretty scared. Just then a bell dinged, and both Tim and Rita turned like automatons. Customer, Tim explained. We do get them at night from time to time. Sometimes they're homeless and want a place to spend the night, air-conditioned in the summer, heated in the winter. As long as they don't seem dangerous, we let them. If they try to shoot up, we kick them out. Or call the police, said Tim. But that doesn't happen often, said Rita. People are basically good. They saw a couple browsing bagged popcorn and potato chips, obviously drunk. Obviously very much into each other. For a second, Bash thought the man was her dad, but it wasn't. And the aisle, it's somehow inactive during the day, she asked. Night and music activates it, said Tim. Could be other ways. We just don't know them, said Rita. They watched as the drunk couple struggled with the automated checkout, but finally managed to pay for their food and leave. They giggled on their way out and tried and failed to kiss. I want to see it again, said Bash. They walked back to aisle 7. The music had changed from ambient to something more melodic, but the aisle was as disconcertingly fluid and endless as before. If management is so concerned about it, why don't they just close the store at night, asked Bash. Because open 24/7 is a citywide Whole Foods policy, said Rita. And it's only local management that believes something's not right. The higher-ups think local management is crazy. Even though Veronica disappeared, they don't acknowledge her disappearance as an internal issue, said Tim. Meaning, they prefer to believe she walked out of the store, and once she's off store grounds, who cares? Bash could hear the bitterness in Tim's voice. They wash their hands of her non-existence. But you know she... He watched her go, said Rita. Tim bit his lip. Is that why you went inside those 150 steps to go after Veronica? Bash asked him. 152, and yes. He shook his head. Then I turned back because I'm a coward. You're not a coward. Hey, said Bash. What? Did you guys hear that? Hear what? Somebody said, you're not a coward, said Bash. I didn't hear that, said Rita. Me neither. Just music and those buzzing fluorescent lights, said Tim. You're not a coward. I just heard it again, said Bash, peering down the aisle. Once you got used to the shifting perception of depth, it was possible to keep your balance. I'm pretty sure it was coming from inside. Don't joke about that, okay, said Rita. Bash took a few steps down the aisle. Tim grabbed her shoulder, but she shrugged it off. She was starting to hear music now. Not the electronica playing through the store speakers, but something else. Asterisk jazz. 1930s jazz. Stop, don't go in there, said Tim, his voice sounding to Bash like it was being filtered through a stream of water. The lights were getting brighter. It's fine, she said, continuing. Like you said, 152 steps are safe. Nothing will happen to me if I just go 152 steps. When finally she turned around, the jazz was louder, as if a few blocks away, and everything was white light except for the parallel lines of shelves, stocked with cans, rice, and water, and boundless asterisk in both directions. Yes, she thought, this is how I felt playing the world in the Pelican Hotel. Asterisk, go back, asterisk, said a voice. Asterisk, you are not wanted here, answered another. The jazz ceased. Where am I? Bash asked, too overawed to be afraid, yet too afraid to imagine honestly any of the possible answers to her question. Asterisk, return. Asterisk, leave us in peace. I don't want to disturb your peace. I'm here because I heard you, one of you, from the outside, from beyond the aisle. Asterisk, do not let the heavens fall upon you, child. Turn back now. Asterisk, you cannot even comprehend the danger. Asterisk, make her leave before she sees. If she sees, she'll inform the others, and we cannot allow that. They will find us and end our sanctuary. Sanctuary? Asterisk. Who speaks that word? It was a third voice, a woman's voice, aged, wise, and leathery. I speak it, said Bash. Before I entered, I heard somebody say, you're not a coward. I want to meet the person who said that. The trembling of her voice at the end betrayed her false confidence. The white light was nearly blinding. the shelves the only objects to which to bind one's perception. If they vanished, who was to say which way was up, or down, or forward, or back? Asterisk, make her go. Asterisk, shush, she hears us. I do hear you, said Bash. I don't mean you any harm, really. I'm from New York City. My name is Bash. I'm in high school. My dad drives a taxi. I play the piano. Sometimes I play other things, too. Asterisk, go. Asterisk. Hello, Bash, a figure said, emerging from the overpowering light. She was totally naked, middle-aged, gray-haired, unshaved, and seemingly undisturbed. Asterisk, my asterisk name is Veronica. Did you come here from Whole Foods? Yes, said Bash. Aisle 7. Night shift? There is no passage on days or evenings. At least that's what Tim says. I'm new. I've only been working there a week. Veronica smiled at the mention of Tim's name. He was always a sweet boy. Odd, but sweet. I think he had a crush on you. I know, dear. What an unfortunate creature to have a crush on, but I suppose one does not quite control the heart. How is Tim? Good. And his friend, the girl? Rita? Yes, that was her name. I always thought they would make a cute couple. She's good, too, I think. I only just met her. Bash looked around. And may I ask you something? Sure, dear. What is this place? Asterisk, Veronica. What is the meaning of this? This revelation of yourself? You know that's against the rules. It was the same wise female voice as before. It's fine. I vouch for this girl, said Veronica, to someone other than Bash. Then to Bash. You, dear, are standing in a forgotten little pocket of the city that for over 100 years has served as a sanctuary for the unwanted, abused, and discarded citizens of New York. Asterisk the nerve. Come out, Belladonna. Come out, everyone. Turn down the brightness and come out. This girl means us no harm, and are we not bound by the rules to treat all who come to us as guests? All who come to us, asterisk, to escape asterisk, said Belladonna. She was as nude as Veronica, but older, much, much older, almost doubled over as she walked, using a cane for support. Don't you try quoting the rules at me again, V. I know the rules better than you know the lines on the palm of your hand, for those were inscribed on you by God, whereas I wrote those rules on my goddamn own. Now make way! Make way! She shuffled past Veronica and advanced until she was a few feet from Bash, whom she sized up intensely with blue eyes clouded over by time. Meanwhile, around them, the intensity of the light indeed began to diminish. More people, men and women, all naked and unshaved, developed out of the afterglow, and in the distance, structures came gradually into view, all made ingeniously out of cans. I am Belladonna, said Belladonna, and I was the first. The first what? Asked Bash, genuinely afraid of the old lady before her. The first to find salvation here, girl, answered Belladonna. When I discovered this place, there was nothing, no one. Behold now. And Bash took in what would have to be called a settlement, no, a handmade metal village, constructed from cans, some of which still bared their labels, peas, corn, tomato soup, lentils, peaches, tuna, salmon, and real Canadian maple syrup, and it took her breath away. The villagers stood between their buildings, or peeked out through windows, or inched unsurely, nakedly toward her. But she did not feel menaced. They came in peace, a slow tide of long-forgotten, damaged humans whose happiness had once and forever been intentionally displaced by the cruelty and greed of more powerful others. When I was 5, my mother started working for the cloth baron. My father died on a bloody abattoir floor, choking on vomit, said Belladonna. Then I started working for the cloth baron, too. Small fingers, he told us, have their uses. Orphaned, there was no one to care for me. I existed purely as a means to an output. The supervisor beat me for the sake of efficiency. The butcher for pleasure. Existence was asterisk, asterisk, heavy asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk heavy like, you'll never know, girl. I dreamed of escape and of end, and I survived on scraps of music that at night drifted inside on wings of hot city air from the clubs. One night, when the pain was particularly bad and the music particularly fine, a hallway that had always before led from the sleep room to the workroom led instead to infinity asterisk, and I ended up here. There were no shelves, no food or water, but just enough seeped through to keep me alive. And there was no more hurt, no more supervisors or butchers, no more others. When it rained, I collected rainwater in a shoe. I amused myself by imagination. Then, unexpectedly, another arrived, a boy, mistreated, swollen, skittish like a rat. Oh, how I loved him. Together we regenerated asterisk our souls asterisk, girl. From that regeneration sprouted all of this. She took her frail hand from her cane and encompassed with it the entirety of wherever they were. Over the years, more and more found their way in. Children, adults. We created a haven, a society. Nothing broken ever fully mends, but we do. We do just fine. Just fine. Just fine. Veronica moved to help her, but Belladonna waved her away. Bash felt as if her heart had collapsed deeper than her chest would allow. Tears welled in her eyes. She didn't know what to say. She eventually settled on, "How old are you?" "I don't remember," said Belladonna. "I'm sorry." "I'm so sorry," said Bash. "But for what?" countered Belladonna. "Was it you who beat me? Forced me to work until unconsciousness? No. Do not take unto yourself the sins of others. We all carry enough of our own, God knows." "And is there a way out?" asked Bash. "Of course." "So I'm not stuck here?" "Of course not. Everyone here is here by choice. Few leave." "What about, huh?" "I said asterisk, there is a way out. Everything else is misinformation. Defensive misinformation. Some villages have walls. We have myths and legends." Her eyes narrowed. "Which brings me to the question of what to do with you, girl. Let you leave knowing our secret, or kill you to prevent its getting out. Unfortunately, the latter, however effective, would also be immoral and would make us no better than the ones we came here to escape. I do, however, ask for your word, to keep out secret. Asterisk to tell no one." "I won't tell anyone, I promise," said Bash. "Swear it." "I swear I won't tell anyone." "Tell them what?" "I swear never to tell anyone what I found in Whole Foods Aisle 7, the Aisle of No Return." "The Aisle of No Return," repeated Belladonna. "Yes." "To my own surprise, I believe you, girl. Now return. Return to the outside. I've spoken for far too long and become tired. Veronica will show you out." With that, Belladonna turned slowly and started walking away from Bash toward the village. The jazz returned, and the white light intensified, swallowing in its brightness everything but two parallel and endless shelves and Veronica. On the way back, Bash asked her why she had entered the aisle. Smiling sadly, "Tell Tim he'll be okay," answered Veronica. "Just remember that you can't say you're saying it for me because—" The aisle entrance solidified into view. We never met, and she was gone, and Bash was alone, stepping back into Whole Foods, where Rita yelled, "Holy shit!" And Tim's bloodshot eyes widened so far that for a moment he couldn't speak. When they regained their senses, Tim asked Bash what she'd seen within the aisle. "Nothing," lied Bash. "I went 157 steps and turned back. Because I'm a coward, too. But hey," she said, kissing him on the cheek and hoping he wouldn't notice that she was crying, "everything's going to be okay, okay? You'll be okay, Tim."